Okay, who can tell me what sequencing is? What is sequencing? Celia.
Putting things in order.
Putting things in order. Sequence is when things are in time order. Good. In your reading notebook, I want you to write down sequencing. That's your new heading. You're starting something new. And I want you to write a certain order in which things follow each other. Over here. Melanie, this one right here. A certain order in which things follow each other. Why do we need sequencing? Why is it so important to have things in sequential order when you're writing and when you're reading as well? Sarah? For things to make sense, and we're going to look at things in order and things that aren't in order. It's important when you're reading, so authors need to be mindful of putting things in sequential order so that stories make sense. And also you as the writer, we do a lot of writing, and when you write your stories, it's important for your stories to be in sequential order so that whoever's reading your story has a better grasp of what's going on. Good to move on? Sequencing. When events in a text are presented in the order that they happen, that's sequencing. Sequential order. It is time order. Sequence is also called time order. On your sheet, go ahead and put just a little note to yourself. Sequence equals time order. So that it reminds you. If you don't remember, that'll help you when you're studying. You need to take notes. Get a sheet of paper out, please, and take notes. This is important. Everyone should be writing this in their notebook.
Sequence equals what? Time order?
Time order. That's your cheat word. If you don't remember anything else, remember that sequence means time order. We good? Thumbs up if you're ready to move on. Let's take a look at signal words. How do we know that things are in time order? Some of our signal words are first, next, then, last, after, and dates, like 1985, that's a year. So go ahead and write signal words. You don't have to copy everything, just write signal words, make a colon, and then put these in there so you've got some examples of them. Ready? So sequence, the signal words help the reader identify a sequence of events. It helps you know what happens first and what happens next. Helps you visualize the story better as well. Now if there are no signal words, what do you use? Context clues, thank you. You look in the story. You're not always going to see signal words, but you can look for context clues, and we're going to practice it both ways this week. You're going to practice with some sentences that have signal words, and then some paragraphs there are no signal words. You just have to use common sense to see what happens first. When a text does not go in time order, it's much more difficult to understand. Let's take a look at this. Then she slipped on an empty ketchup packet. Last, she had to miss recess while she cleaned up the mess she made. Next, she flew up in the air and dropped her lunch everywhere. Sally was running in the cafeteria. Is that in order?
No.
Does it make sense?
No.
What do you think comes first?
Running. Yeah.
Sally was running in the cafeteria. Good. What happened next? Then she slipped on an empty ketchup packet. And then? Next, she flew up in the air and dropped her lunch. And finally? Last, she had to miss recess while she cleaned up the mess. Yes?
Can I get Logan Reagan to the office for a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Y'all see when you put it in order, it makes a lot more sense, right? There it is. First she was running, then she slipped, then she flew up in the air and dropped her lunch everywhere, and then finally she missed recess because she had to clean it up. All right, let's practice. Which one of these comes first? Take a look at it and then raise a quiet hand. Tell me what comes first. Calicia? happens next? Skylar?
Next, the plant gets smarter and sunlight.
Let's find out if you're right. That's right. It gets water and sunlight. What's next? Tyler?
Then the plant begins to germinate and grow.
Germinate and grow. Let's see if you're right. That's right. What's the last thing that happened? Celia?
The flower blooms.
Flower blooms. Good. We have those sequence words, first and last. Those are easy. You pull those out. When you're working on this in centers and in your classwork this week, find your first, find your last. Use those words. And then you have to sort out what goes in the middle. Let's practice one together. Okay. Go around. Go around. Okay. She listened carefully as her teacher read the spelling words. Marla turned in her paper. Marla got out her paper, her pencil. She wrote the words her teacher said. She checked to be sure she had spelled all the words correctly. Who wants to come up and put the first sentence up? Go ahead, Guadalupe. Come on up. Find the first sentence and put it up. What's the first sentence? What's the first thing she did? What's Marla doing? Bryson. She's taking a spelling test. So what's the first thing? Okay, which one?
She has to listen carefully to her teacher's
Without her pencil?
yeah.
First thing she did, she got out her pencil. Thank you. What's the next thing she did? Skylar, come on up and tell us. Good. Next, she listened to the words. That's fine. Then she listened to the words. Adam, come and tell us what she did next. Good. Then she wrote the words. What'd she do next? Jalen, come on up. Good. She checked to be sure that she had spelled all the words correctly. What's the last thing she did? Alex. She turned in her paper. Good job. There are no time order words in this, but y'all were able to figure it out. Why? How'd you figure it out without the time order words? Skylar?
Because we use our knowledge, because we take spelling tests and we know what to do.
Good. You made a connection. You thought, well, what do I do when I take a spelling test? And then you helped yourself with your own prior knowledge and common sense. Good job. You want to do one more? Oh, thank you. All right. He slipped both of his shoes on. He rifled through his closet to find his shoes. He was ready to go to his friend's party. Brian tied his shoes in a double knot. He put on his favorite socks. Who wants to put the first? What's the first thing we do when we get ready? Sarah, come on up. Good. He put on his favorite socks. You can't put your shoes on without your socks, can you? Again, how did you know that was the first thing that he did? There's no time words.
Like Skylar said, she made a connection.
That's right. You made a connection. When you put your shoes on, you can't put your socks on after, right? Kalicia, come on, find us the second thing. Good. Okay, he rifled through his closet to find his shoes. He's got his socks on. He's got to find his shoes. Riley, you want to give it a shot? What's the next thing he does? He slipped both of his shoes on. And then, Lee, come on up. Good, he tied both of his shoes in a double knot. What's the last thing? Oscar, you want to come up and finish it for us? Good job. He was ready to go to his friend's party. Any questions on this? We're going to practice this all week long. This is called what? What do we call this? Sequencing. Good job. Skylar's passing out your packet. This is going to be our packet for the week. Counts as your classwork. We're going to do a little bit each day to start it, and then you're going to finish it at home. So once everyone's got it, we're going to look at the first page. Put your name on it. And we're going to practice finding what happens first, because sometimes we don't have those time order words in there. While Skylar's coming around with that, let's take a look. Sam used his best handwriting to write his report, and he got an A for neatness. First, let's look at that conjunction. What's our conjunction? Guadalupe. And. Good. And is our conjunction. So we know that we've got this going on and we've got this going on, right? Which one happened first? John? First he wrote his report, and then he got an A for neatness because he used his best handwriting. Let's look at number 2. I fell running for the school bus because it was icy. Which is our conjunction? Celia. Because, that's where we know this happened and this happened. Or because of this. So, what happened first? Udi? What happened first? Cause and effect. What happened first? What was on the ground? Ice. There was ice on the ground, so he fell when he was running, right? So it was icy. That happened first. And then he ran, and then he fell. One more. You're going to finish this page as part of your homework. We're going to review all of it tomorrow. We're about to go to centers. When Katie was in the hospital, she received many get well cards. What happened first? Elijah? That's right. First, she went to the hospital. And then she got many get well cards. Questions on homework? Yes. We're going to find what happens first. On the first one, Sam used his best handwriting to write his report, and he got an A for neatness. 2 things happened in that sentence. He used his best handwriting to write his report, and he got an A for neatness. What happened first? First in that sentence. He used his best handwriting, and then he got an A. Underline it. Yes.
And then circle the and.
No, that was just for me showing y'all what the conjunction was. All you have to do is underline what happened first in each sentence. That's what you're doing for homework. Then on the second one, I fell running for the school bus because it was icy. The first thing that happened was it got icy. So you underline it was icy. I'm sorry, I put a box around it, but you do underline it. Or box it or circle it. As long as you only show me what happened first, that'll be fine. You can also highlight it if that's better for you. Yes, Sarah?
You still have to circle the
Nope, that was just for demonstration purposes. You can if you want to, but make sure that there's a distinction. I need to see clearly what happens first.
We can highlight.
Yes, you can highlight. Any other questions? All right, we're moving on to centers. Now put this up. We're done. Thank you.